All around the world, you're watching Bayelsa and Kogi Decide 2019, reaching you live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. I am Kelly Egiga. Just few hours from now, you will have the next governor of Kogi and Bayelsa states respectively. The rallies are over, the debates are over, but then again, the intrigues and controversies and drama as well continue to emanate in those two states. Indeed, there is so much battle between some of the major political stakeholders in those states, and of course our studios are officially open now as we continue with our live coverage of the 2019 Kogi and Bayelsa elections. We have our correspondent in those states, Kogi and Bayelsa respectively, and they will get to give us live feeds and live updates as events get to unfold. So much to talk about on the show this morning as we bring you the very latest in those two states. But some of the major talking points, of course, is the fact that over not fewer than 31,000 police personnel have been deployed to Bayelsa State, particularly for the governorship elections. We'll get to talk about all of that as we engage our correspondent later on the show. Of course, there have been issues of security, insecurity in those states, as some attacks have been recorded. And of course, we'll get to speak to our correspondent to bring us up to speed with some of the very latest in those states. Welcome again. We'll just take a quick break and see your reports. When we come back, we'll take you live to those states. I am Kelly. Welcome to the show.
Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has appealed for a peaceful conduct of the Kogi State governorship election and the Kogi West senatorial rerun poll. He made the appeal at a meeting with stakeholders in Kogi State. INEC Chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, who led his national commissioners to the state for the meeting with political leaders, the police and other key actors, expressed concern over the volatile politics of Kogi State during elections. He told the gathering that the commission is ready for the polls. The REC in charge of the Kogi State disclosed that materials for the election would be deployed in the next 24 hours.
Recent reports of attacks on facilities and campaign materials in some parts of Kogi State reinforce rather than assuage our concern about violence during the election. I urge all stakeholders to continue to maintain peaceful conduct during the electioneering campaign.
We're also going to sign a peace accord in addition to just the meetings that we've always had. And so, Mr. Chairman, just as I said in my speech about the things we had done and those that we plan to do, we have done virtually everything in line with our timelines. We are almost ready. By the time we receive our ballot papers and election and result sheets tomorrow at the central bank, we will be very ready to have elections on the 6th of November 2019.
Like the INEC chairman, NYSC Director General Shuaibu Ibrahim also cautioned against violence to avoid instilling fears in the core members who are expected to deliver a credible poll.
State gubernatorial election and the Kogi West senatorial rerun election scheduled for 16th November 2019. Let me begin by congratulating INEC and other stakeholders for the progress made so far in the preparations for this election. May I also use this occasion to thank the Generality of Nigerians for the confidence reposed in our core members, who constitute the largest part of INEC's ad hoc personnel for the conduct of elections in the country.
The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, promised professionalism of its officers and warned armed thugs of serious consequences if caught before, during and after the elections.
This election is not a general election. For that reason, we have enough personnel. We will not tolerate after vote we start moving about from one polling unit to another. That will not be allowed. While other security agencies, the police and others are manning the polling units, you are going to see armed mobile policemen patrolling.
The parties were made to sign a peace accord which is aimed at reducing the rate of volatility in the state during the election. 17 out of the 24 parties participating in the polls signed the accord. Update on polls shows that 1,485,828 permanent voters' cards have so far been collected from a total of 1,646,350 who registered.
Watching Bayelsa Kogi Decide 2019, reaching you live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. So much to talk about as these states are really very unique and very key to the major political stakeholders. We will take you very shortly to Bayelsa State in few seconds. But earlier on I told you that about 31,000 police personnel have been deployed to Bayelsa State, particularly for these elections, and we'll get to see how events get to unfold. Let's cross over right now to Bayelsa State, the state capital, where we have our correspondent Dele Faso to just bring us up to speed to what's the very latest. Dele, if you can hear me, let's get talking. What can you see and what can you hear?
I'm in a place called Amarata in the Yenogwa local government. Yenogwa local government, which happens to be the biggest, where they have the highest number of voters here. Right now, what I can see along the road, the security presence are talking about the police has not been felt here. Because early this morning, I was with some electoral officers at the INEC headquarters, where they say the delay here now is because of the presence of officers, of the security officers here. If you can see around now, just pan around now, you see voters around. There are voters seated there waiting for some observers, but we're just waiting for security personnel, just 1, 2, 3 of them here, just plainclothes police. Like what they told us, they said the armed soldiers will be a distance away. But where we are right now, they are still arranging canopies here, still waiting, which is the biggest among all the units here. Nothing has really started here, talking about the presence of materials here. The materials too has not arrived. The presence of observers and journalists are even more than those that will be conducting the election for us. So presently, the roads have been deserted just because of the restriction of movement that was being announced yesterday by the police. So presently, the situation, nothing has been on now, just waiting for materials as they set up the units.
At 8 a.m. And so you can also confirm that even the INEC officials are nowhere to be found after this time?
Yes, that's correct. They made us understand that they were at the rack center by that 7. But the materials, they don't want the materials up. They want the presence of security men before materials could be moved outside. You know, it will be risky putting out materials with the officials without proper security arrangement. But as I speak to you authoritatively, in most of the units visited this morning, as at 7:30, 7 a.m. to 7:30, officials are still be waiting for. But what you just see are just journalists and the observers here presently.
Because no fewer than 31,000 police personnel have been deployed to that state for these particular elections. What can you tell us about the security situation in that state? That particular state, especially with the deployment of over 31,000 police officers. Well, it does appear we have lost contact with our correspondent. We'll see how we can reconnect again with our correspondent in Bayelsa State, Dele Faso, who is talking us through the very, very latest. Again, there you have it, confirmation that INEC officials are nowhere to be found, and just a few minutes away to for voting to start, and then he's saying that on ground we cannot find the INEC officials, and that's a result of the fact that even the security personnel as well as nowhere to be found. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the show again. Our focus is on Bayelsa and Kogi states, where we have the governorship elections, and we're bringing you up to speed to the very, very latest. We'll look at some of the intrigues and some of the controversies surrounding these two elections as the major stakeholders continue to trade words, trade blame games, and all of that. We'll talk about this in just a moment. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. Join us again.
Back to the empress in Abuja, and she already get them across to us for us to take them to those places before tomorrow. At 8 o'clock, normally at 8 o'clock to 2 p.m. We're going to sit on the queue before 2 p.m. we're allowed to vote.
The Situation Room also calls on INEC to resist pressure from partisan political interests that could derogate on the conduct of free and fair elections. Situation Room notes the position of INEC regarding the use of smart card readers in the state election and welcomes the Commission's insistence that no election will hold without the card readers. Situation Room calls on INEC to limit the abuse in the collation process as happened in the 2019 general elections by taking steps to carry out an effective and transparent collation of results.
You're watching Bayelsa and Kogi Decide 2019, of course, reaching you live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. I am Kelly. Just before we went on that short break, we were engaging our correspondent in Bayelsa State, Dele Faso, where he confirmed that INEC officials are nowhere to be found, but journalists and observers are on the ground. And so we'll get to go back now to Bayelsa State as we get to engage our correspondent again. We also have information that we have an observer with him standing by. But Dele, if you can hear me loud and clear, let's get talking about the security situation in that state. What are you learning about that state in terms of security?
Where he said the 31,041 presence of the policemen will be experienced everywhere, and that he will escort all the materials to and fro without each. Even the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, apart from the 31,000, yesterday told us that 5,000 of their personnel will be drafted across Yenogua. But as I speak with you, you can just see around now that the presence, you can just see the policemen over the head there, and no presence of a civil defense, no any other thing. So it's surprising when you see most of the observers are even surprised, saying, where are those people? Why are they not leading these materials here? You know, it's baffling. That's what we are looking for. They made us understand that their preparation is in top tier. And I feel as we hear this morning now that even a place called Nembe is a no-go area. That's where the incident happened last Wednesday, where a staff of the Radio Bayelsa was killed. So what we are just waiting, we are still waiting for them to come up with the materials. If you look at my time, there is still about a few minutes to 8 o'clock. Who knows, maybe they are waiting for the 8 o'clock before coming. But time we say, I promise to give you the feedback as it unfolds.
Probably one more security question before we get to talk about other issues. Can you confirm for us if there's been any issue of any sort of clash or clashes?
Okay, yes. The only thing we just observed this morning, that was around 6 a.m., was at the INEC headquarters in Swally Road here in Yenabua, where there were just a little confusion about allowance with some police officers. You know, there's some journalists, inquisitive journalists, when we gathered there to know what's happening. Their superior said, no, it's not for public consumption, but that they will not move. That's a vehicle that was supposed to convey materials to the place they call Amasoma. It's about 1 hour from here. The vehicle has not left at the time we left there because there were a lot of argument about that, but no clashes whatsoever, no information of clash whatsoever in all the 8 local government has had when we put call across to people there. But what we just know that is in a stronghold areas people will be looking at, that the police even pointed out that is Nembe, Southern Injo, brass area there, where the Minister of State for Petroleum hails from. So those areas are where people are looking at. But though they even said they are expecting some little clashes from Yenegua, because Yenegua, here, the capital, they have the highest number of voters here, talking about 199,000. But for now, I speak with you, nothing of whatsoever of violence or anything.
Switch and speak with the observer there on ground. What's the mood like? What's the mood like there when you look at the electorate on ground? Those who are ready to cast their vote. What's the mood like? What's the expression of on their faces?
Yes, we spoke with about 3 of them from different units here. Some of them came, voters even came to observe. Still watching before coming out, election of this magnitude, taking into consideration a lot of things that have been said.
Signals here that we have to just end the conversation with you, but since you have the observer there, let's get to engage her very, very quickly before we let you go this morning. Very, very quickly. Can we do that? Yes, since you have the observer there, just before we let you go, can we just get to engage the observer very quickly?
Yes, definitely. I think just we were going down speaking observers and putting this together. Maybe I should just let me just bring her in. I think she's almost here. Hello, just 1 minute, please.
Well, then, if the observer is not, if she's not ready, then okay. Well, let's just in few seconds. Let's get to hear her thoughts about the elections as we prepare to kickstart.
Yes, is that okay? Yes, let's just.
Well, many thanks indeed for agreeing to speak with Galaxy TV. I understand that you are with FIDA, but tell us exactly what can you see and what can you hear in just a few seconds, because we have to let you go very shortly, ma'am.
I'm in the field to observe the elections, and INEC, officials are not yet here. We believe that they are on their way, and in a short while they might be with us. So we're very hopeful that the election will begin anytime from now, and voters are already waiting to cast their votes. So we're very hopeful.
Definitely speak to you later on as events get to unfold. Many thanks indeed for agreeing to speak with Galaxy TV. You're watching Bayelsa and Kogi Decide 2019 as we get to give you live updates and feeds from those 2 states. When we come back after this short timeout, we'll take you to Kogi State. My name is Kelly. Stay with us.
Report back to the Empress in Abuja, and she able to get them across to us for us to take them to those places before tomorrow. At 8 o'clock, normally at 8 o'clock to 2 p.m. But those who be on the queue before 2 p.m. will be allowed to vote.
The situation room also calls on INEC to resist pressure from partisan political interests that could derogate on the conduct of free and fair elections. Situation Room notes the position of INEC regarding the use of smart card readers in the state election and welcomes the Commission's insistence that no election will hold without the card readers. Situation Room calls on INEC to limit the abuse in the collation process as happened in the 2019 general elections by taking steps to carry out an effective and transparent collation of results, open with unfettered access to designated centers. INEC should also insist on complete enforcement of the new operational guidelines for police officers on election duty to provide adequate security for its officials, party agents, and observers, rather than become active participants in collation and undermine the process.
Despite making up about 15% of the population, Nigerians with disabilities continue to face challenges when participating in elections.
Kogi decides 2019. My name is Kelly. Let's take you live now to Kogi State, where we have our correspondent Diola Aderibigbe in that state. Diola, what's the very latest in that state?
Kelly, good morning.
In Kogi?
Well, all is now set for the conduct of Kogi State gubernatorial election, set to hold today, of the Independent National Electoral Commission, headed by Professor James Apam, has assured residents that sensitive and non-sensitive electoral materials has already been sent to the nooks and crannies of the state. The security agencies led by the Nigerian police has also assured residents of adequate security of lives and properties before, during, and after the elections. However, no matter what, there is total apprehension in town. Residents of Kogi State are not too sure of the security of their lives and properties in the election. People are complaining that there were cases of pockets of violence before and during the campaigns for the election. So the stage is set, and the battle will be won by either of the three major contestants in the state.
Normally, during elections in Nigeria particularly, there is always restriction of movement. But I can see where you are, I can see vehicles, I can see motorcycles moving. So what's the state of movement like in that particular state?
Well, this is Logokomba Junction, around phase 1 in the state capital, Lokoja. As you can see behind me, ahead of me, as I speak to you, this is almost 8 o'clock on the election day. Movement has not been restricted. There is a road safety vehicle parked just beside me here, and I can see people still going around their normal duties. There are commercial motorcyclists still plying the road, still looking for passengers. There are still people trekking around. So I hope that as time goes on, as the elections commences, that people will begin to obey the restriction order.
A quick one again before we probably let you go. We are a few minutes away to 8 a.m. when the elections is supposed to kickstart. Is INEC on ground?
Well, I have drove around the state capital this morning, and as I speak with you, I have not even seen a place where they have started setting up the polling booth. So we hope it could be due to some logistic issues, but we are very much hopeful that election we conduct. Election was supposed to start by 8 o'clock, and it's supposed to end by 2 p.m. But as we speak, voting has not started in the state.
Diola, we would like to thank you indeed for your time and your thoughts. We'll definitely get to engage you again sometime at about noon when our studios will be open. Many thanks indeed for speaking with us. Well, Well, that's about the size of our package we can take this morning as we continue to look at the Bayelsa Kogi Decides 2019. Our studios will be open again at 12 noon as we continue with our live coverage of this particular election. So much to talk about. So as you can hear from our correspondent there, it does appear that nothing is happening at this moment. We hope that INEC and the security officials can get things started and running in those particular states. My name is Kelly Egiga. Studios will be back at 12 noon. Bye for now.